Okay, so GCSE English Lit exams, right? They're coming up and, well, I think we all know they can be a little bit scary.
Yeah, definitely a bit nerve-wracking.
But you're in the right place, because in this deep dive, we've got some seriously good tips to help you out.
That's right, straight from examiners and teachers who know exactly what gets those top marks.
We're not talking about vague advice here. It's practical stuff that really works. We'll even be looking at things like microquotes.
And how connecting the books you're studying to, stuff that's happening in the world right now can actually impress those examiners.
Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
But let's start with the basics. We all know it's important, but, well, practice is key.
It really is. Students who consistently get those top grades, they're always practicing.
So it's like training for a big match, like athletes do.
Exactly. They practice writing essays, whole paragraphs, all under timed conditions.
Oh, and using past exam questions, right?
You got it.
So we shouldn't just be reading the books. We should be actively, writing about them.
100%. And when it comes to the actual exam, planning is everything.
Ooh, planning.
Before you even put pen to paper, take 5, maybe 10 minutes to plan your essay.
Makes sense.
Think of it like a roadmap. What are those keywords in the question? What's your main argument going to be?
And then?
Map out your paragraphs. Each one should have a clear topic sentence. Make sure it answers the question directly, supports your main argument.
Gotcha. I'm guessing we need evidence, too.
Of course. Bullet points of evidence from the text to back up each point. It might seem like a lot.
Yeah, it does.
But trust me, it makes the writing process so much easier.
Okay, so we've got our plan. How do we actually make sure we're answering the question properly in a way that examiners love?
One simple trick. Use those keywords from the exam question all the way through your essay.
Oh, like in the intro.
Yeah. In your topic sentences, even bring them back in your conclusion.
So it's like constantly reminding the examiner, hey, look, I'm answering your question.
Exactly. It shows you're focused and you really get what they're asking, and it helps to show a good understanding of the actual text, too.
Yeah.
It's like imagine a detective presenting evidence to solve a case.
The more evidence they have, the stronger their case is, right?
You got it. And the best evidence, well, that comes straight from the text.
I was going to say that. So quotes, then.
Direct quotes are gold dust, but don't worry if you can't remember every single word. You can refer to specific events,
Like in the plot.
Yep. Important scenes, how a character changes, even stage directions in a play.
The point is to show you really know the story.
Exactly.
You mentioned microquotes earlier. What are they?
So microquotes, they're these short, powerful quotes that capture a whole theme or character. Learn a few for each text, and you'll be good to go.
So instead of memorizing these massive chunks of text, we could use these little impactful quotes.
That's the idea. And if you can pick quotes with some literary techniques or interesting language features, even better.
Like metaphors or similes.
Exactly. For example, in Macbeth, there's that line, "Full of scorpions is my mind."
Yeah. Short but powerful.
Right. It reveals so much about Macbeth's inner turmoil, the theme of guilt.
It's all in there. Okay, before we get too carried away, let's talk time management. That's crucial, right?
Definitely. Both sections of paper 1 are worth roughly the same.
So we need to divide our time equally.
Absolutely. Don't rush one section just to spend more time on another. That's a recipe for, well, let's just say it won't end well. It's like baking a cake, but forgetting half the ingredients.
Right. Disaster.
Exactly. Practice your pacing during revision. Get a feel for how long you need for each section.
Okay. Starting to get the hang of this now. We've got practice, planning, answering the question directly, evidence, time management, anything else examiners are looking for.
You know what really makes an essay stand out? It's connecting those texts you're studying to the world today.
That's interesting.
It shows a deeper understanding, like why these books still matter today, even centuries later.
So we shouldn't just treat them like they're stuck in the past.
Definitely not. Think about it. How do the themes, the characters, the events relate to what's going on right now? Social movements, maybe even your own experiences.
I'm starting to think about some of the books we've studied, like A Christmas Carol, the way Dickens talks about poverty.
Yes.
It's relevant to so many issues today. Homelessness, food banks.
Exactly. And what about a play like Macbeth? All that ambition and power.
Oh, yeah. It's scary how relevant it still is to politics today.
Right. Okay. So we've got these insights, these tips, but how do we actually use them in the exam when the pressure's on?
Yeah, good point. It's easy to say all this, but when you're actually sitting there...
Well, first things first, breathe. You've done the prep, you know the material. After you've looked at the question, created your plan, Take some time to annotate the text.
So like underlining keywords, highlighting imagery, making notes in the margins.
Exactly. Annotating, it's like having a conversation with the text.
Yeah.
You're really engaging with it, making sure you don't miss those important details.
And staying focused when things get stressful.
Yeah, exactly. I'm starting to see how all these tips kind of work together, build on each other.
Me too. Like each tip is a tool, and together they help us create, well, a masterpiece, right?
Exactly. Speaking of masterpieces, let's talk about introductions and conclusions. They're like the bookends of your essay. They frame your whole argument.
I've always struggled with introductions. Any tips?
A good intro should, first of all, set the scene. Introduce the text, the context of your analysis. You
Yeah.
need a clear thesis statement. What's your main argument going to be?
Got it.
It's like setting the stage for a performance.
And what about conclusions? I always end up just repeating myself.
The conclusion, it's your chance to bring everything together. Restate your main points, but try to do it in a fresh way.
So not just repeating.
No, add some extra insight. And most importantly, leave the reader with something to think about, a final, thought-provoking statement.
I like that. So it's all about being clear and engaging, right from the beginning to the very end.
Exactly. You're showing the examiner that you've really thought things through. But even the best ideas can fall flat if they're full of mistakes.
You mean like spelling and grammar?
Yeah. Those little things can make a big difference. Taking a few minutes at the end to proofread.
Oh, I hate proofreading.
I know, but trust me, it's worth it. Those extra marks for spelling, punctuation, grammar, they can really boost your grade.
It's like polishing a diamond. Those final touches make it shine.
Exactly.
Okay, so just to recap, we've talked about context, annotating, intros and conclusions, and of course, proofreading. It all feels a bit less scary now.
It's all about breaking it down, taking it step by step.
Okay, one last thing we need to cover. Unseen poetry. Those questions can be tough, right?
Yeah, they can feel pretty intimidating, I get it.
Like you're just thrown in at the deep end.
Exactly. But honestly, with the right approach, it doesn't have to be that scary.
So let's say we're in the exam, staring at this poem we've never seen before.
Yeah.
What's the first step?
First, don't panic. Just breathe. You approach it just like you would any other text.
Okay.
Read it through carefully, maybe even twice. Get a feel for the tone, the mood, what's it about.
So like meeting someone new, right? You wouldn't just jump into a deep conversation.
Exactly. Pay attention to the language, the imagery, the structure, even the rhythm of the words.
What jumps out at you? What kind of feelings or ideas does it give you?
Exactly. And this is where those annotation skills come in handy.
Oh yeah, good point.
Jot down your thoughts, highlight any phrases that stand out, circle words you might need to look up later.
So we're actively engaging with the poem, making those first observations.
Right. Okay, so you've read it, made some notes, now what?
Yeah, got next.
Look at the question. What are they actually asking you to analyze? Themes, language, structure, the effect on the reader.
Okay, so just like with those essay questions, we need to stay focused.
Exactly. And don't forget evidence. You need to support your points, use quotes from the poem, and explain how they back up your interpretation.
Right, so we're backing up our ideas. Are there any specific techniques for analyzing poetry? It feels different to prose.
One technique that's always helpful is looking at the imagery.
Imagery.
Poets, they're masters at using language to paint pictures in our minds. Think metaphors, similes, all those sensory details.
We're looking for those, right?
Yeah, and think about what images the poet is creating. How do they contribute to the overall meaning, the mood of the poem?
So it's not just about spotting the imagery, it's about explaining why it's there, what it does.
Exactly. Another good technique is looking for patterns and repetitions.
Oh, cool.
Poets often repeat words, phrases, even whole lines. It helps emphasize certain ideas, create a specific rhythm.
Like a song with a chorus that keeps coming back.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, don't forget about the structure.
Structure.
How is the poem organized? Stanzas, rhyme scheme, meter. How does that structure add to the meaning, the impact of the poem?
So even the way it looks on the page can tell us something.
Absolutely. Poets are very deliberate in their choices. Every word, every line break, every stanza, it's all carefully crafted.
Wow, okay, I'm starting to see it now.
Remember, don't be intimidated by unseen poetry. Approach it with an open mind. You might be surprised by what you find.
That's great advice. I think we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We've talked about planning, analyzing text, understanding context, using those micro quotes, even tackling unseen poetry.
We've had insights from examiners, from teachers, people who know exactly what it takes to get those top marks.
So as you prepare for your exams, remember those keywords. Practice your skills and connect those texts to the world around you. And most importantly, believe in yourselves. Good luck.
Best of luck. You got this.